Testing 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Look at that. Okay, so I did quite a bit of work last night off stream, just watching videos and doing a little bit on here, just to get stuff done. But anyway, I got my Game Boy Advance shape here. I've got all of my mounting hardware in the back of this for right now. I'm not going to do joysticks just yet. I want to do this really simple at first and just kind of get it done. I can add joysticks to it later. It wouldn't be that difficult to add an iteration with joysticks. But for now, we're just going to go with this. Mostly going to be using it for playing like Game Boy Advance games kind of thing. But yeah, this is what we got. I do have the shape of the circuit board. I haven't started running any kind of circuitry yet. I did have to shape this quite considerably. I've had to iterate on this a couple of times in order to get it right. So buttons are in the right spot and stuff like that. An issue that I'm having right now is for some reason the buttons are not super they're not pressing correctly. They're still pressing and actually making finishing or completing the circuit. They are doing that, but there's just not they're not enjoyable to press. They don't have that feeling like I can put this here and then it's got a nice little press to it. And these buttons in their current state are not giving me that. And it's something I'm trying to figure out and trying to troubleshoot right now. But I'm not entirely sure what to do with it at this moment. I need to open up the holes for the buttons ever so slightly just to add a little bit of clearance for the buttons because they are getting hung up. Even after I file it down a little bit, they're still getting hung up. I don't want to have to file the finished product, so I'm just going to go ahead and open up those holes, but that's neither here nor there right now. That's not what's preventing them from having that clicking sensation. So I'm wondering if the buttons are depressed too much by default, and therefore they're not extending enough. So it's completely bypassing that clicking space. Now, and there's not really a super good way of viewing this. Maybe there is. Maybe I can see it with one of these. Let me put one of these back together real quick. One thing that I've been working on today, it's been kind of a nightmare, is the GPIO pins on the Raspberry Pi are I modeled it up and I put the GPIO pins on the model, but they don't seem to be super consistent. And so I couldn't just simply project the holes through the motherboard. It just wasn't working that way. So I'm having to go through and manually line up these pins individually, and there's what I think is 22 pins on each side. I'm assuming that when one side is done, I can just simply go to the second side, and it should be fine. It should just match, right? I'm hoping. However, I will say this: I do have like another brand of these GPIO headers, and they in fact are not the same distance. They don't line up the same. So I'm hoping, because I've already put in all this work, um, that I can find the matching one for this one to reuse it. I am going to open up these holes a little bit. The reason why they're so tiny, because they're barely big enough for the GPIOs to actually go into. The reason why I'm doing them so small is due to the fact that I want them to be pretty precisely placed. I pretty much have to force these in. They're a nice tight fit. But I want these to be as precise as I possibly can get them before I open the holes up to make them travel through a little bit easier. And that'll also keep it from binding up too much. But I need these. I need these in order to transmit the controller signals and to connect the Raspberry Pi to my custom circuit board that I'm building. It's going to be thicker than this one. My newest iteration of this is actually quite a bit thicker. I'm actually going to turn this into a 2-layer circuit board. It's not going to be just a single layer. It's going to be 2. So most of my controller configuration is going to go on the front. And then on the back is going to have my power circuitry. So it's going to have my ground from the battery. It's going to have my 5-volt at 3 amp line, which is great because, you know, those are going to require thicker traces. They're going to take up about an inch in just trace alone. So with that being said, um, that'll just be a good thing to have. Furthermore, on the front half of the case, whenever I do go to actually model the speakers in, I'm not sure about placement yet for the speakers. If I can fit them in here, I want to put them there at the bottom of the screen. If not, I guess they're going to go underneath the D-pad and the ABXY buttons. But that also might cause problems later on whenever I go to add joysticks, if that ever happens. What else? I've added the posts for the spring mechanism, so the shoulder buttons are nice and springy. I haven't really done a whole lot of tuning. I haven't actually done any tuning with the shoulder buttons. Actually, I think I still need to do some more modifications to make them a little bit bigger. Oh, on future iterations of this, I'm actually going to have, because I'm going to be pulling my audio directly off of the display board because this has HDMI in, and that's what I'm going to be using for my video is HDMI. And with this headphone jack, I'm just going to hook my speakers up directly to the headphone jack and hope that that's loud enough. I don't know if it will or will not be. One thing that I actually haven't thought about was volume controls. So that's going to be something I have to think about at some point. I have not actually given any thought into that, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it later. Let's get a functioning device first. I don't mind printing extra cases. I have bukus. I literally have hundreds of pounds of filament. I'm not worried about filament. But yeah, just wire that off of that. and probably put a little a circuit here that I can solder a small wire to bring to the other side of the board for the audio signal. And then I'll probably just tie that speaker in on this side into a ground that is already on this side of the board, because there's going to be plenty of area surface area for me to grab a ground on. I can literally just solder to anywhere along that ground trace that goes to the middle of the board. So that's not going to be an issue. Um, I might go ahead and wire a trace for ground, and if I do, it's solely because I won't want the circuit board to be attached to the front half of the case at that point in time. We'll see. If this thing is really sturdy and I'm not taking it apart that often, then no big deal, no harm, no foul. But if it's something where I'm having to iterate time after time after time, after I've gotten to that point in order to tweak things, then we might do something different. Let me see what I can. This one's not going to work. Unfortunately, today was trash day, and I did throw out a bunch of stuff that I probably should not have. We're gonna use an older board because I don't think I ever changed the distance. Okay, I am gonna go ahead and put that together. Probably just put in 2 screws, so I'm not having to do too much. All right. These buttons, see, these are a lot clickier. These work just fine. I'm not getting the same problems with these. And I don't think that I really changed anything. Maybe the holes just need to be opened up a little bit. Maybe there's extra shrinkage that's preventing them from being able to decompress all the way. Because when you've got such a big thing like what this is, there's more shrinkage involved than in a smaller item. So maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe that shrinkage is, all it takes is, 1 or 2 thousandths of an inch. It doesn't take a whole lot. And I'm going to just say this right now. I made this bezel around the screen super thin. It's like 0.288 maybe thousandths of an inch, or 0.028 thousandths of an inch. So 28 thousandths of an inch, I think. And which is really small. It's smaller than a 32nd of an inch. But it's like, to put things into perspective there, it's a little over half a millimeter, maybe 0.6 millimeters. I don't really do a whole lot of measuring in imperial, but I mean, that gives you an idea for those of you who are. I'm going to go grab this thing off the printer real quick so I can see how that's turned out. I think on the next print, I'm just going to open up those holes just a little bit. I think that's going to make a difference for the console itself. It does need to happen anyway, so if it solves my problem as a result, then, so be it. All right, let's do a test fit. I've got to print this a couple more times before it's done. Did I not move that at all? Let me pull up. I probably should make an extra scene for that. Okay, we're gonna go back over to this one. This is what I've been working with here. It's just a quick little easy short print. What was the last thing I did? Right there. And we moved it to the left. Damn, I need to move it again. Let me just make sure that that's the correct pin, because it was a little bit ago that I did this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's the 14th pin. So it's that pin right there. Okay, so it looks like I solved for the 13th pin there. Because this one right here is the 13th. That one's the 14th. The one I was just looking at is the 14th. And the 13th. Probably wouldn't hurt to go over another 5 thousandths of an inch. Let me... I think that'll be fine. I think the tolerance on that is probably fine, because I'm going to open that up ever so slightly on the finished product, so... Let's go ahead. We're going to hide this one. And I'm thinking I need to move this one over like 10 thousandths of an inch. It was pretty significant. I hope I don't regret doing that much. I have printed this thing a dozen times at this point. Okay, so that's back on to print. Let's get back to looking at this. I just made some changes. I used to have the alignment pegs for the silicon conductive boot thing. I used to have it on the circuit board. Now I have it directly on the case itself. So I can now actually go to the circuit board, flip it, and we can remove this. Wait. Okay, we'll join those. This is still the top case. Okay. Let's grab the circuit board. And we're just going to grab these and get rid of them. So that frees up some space, some real estate there for the circuitry to move through. And what else we got? Oh, it's actually 18 thousandths of an inch, but it looks so good. I had to get it that thin because I needed it to clear. I needed it to go down so much because I needed it to clear for my circuit board, to line up with the back of the display driver board. And I did so, and it was perfect, except the front of the case is, that right there is 18 thousandths of an inch, which is so narrow. But it looks phenomenal. Like, honestly, it looks great. It's not super thick. It's sturdy. It's great. Anyway, moving on. I did figure out the solution for the batteries. So this is the battery for it. And I've made the circuit board thick. That thing is thick. Anyway, that thing is 390 thousandths of an inch thick. That is a thick motherboard, or circuit board, I should say. And the reason being is because you got, where's the screen? So the screen sits right here, and that's not even as thick as it's going to be because we're going to have, the circuitry is going to actually start up here and then go down. But, so there's that, the screen right there. And then the Raspberry Pi goes there. The voltage booster goes there. The charger is already in place there. I did recess that one because the case, which is here, if I put it up any higher, it was not going to be in a good spot. I just didn't like it. Unfortunately, there's not enough space for me to put it on the other side of the circuit board. It just wasn't going to be possible. There's too much circuitry on that side of the board that it just couldn't pass through this section right here. So this section right here, you'll notice, is fairly empty. The battery is going to go right in there. And that's not a hard spot there. That's a wire that comes out. So it's flexible. It can just go up and over, and it's going to get soldered in. Probably here, it probably just get a trace that goes from here to here. I'm not entirely sure how this is that's gonna check out, because these are, yeah, so the two on the right here are grounds, and then the two on the left are positive. So battery in, battery in, battery out. Sorry, battery in, positive, battery in, negative, and vice versa. Um, Problem is we're gonna have to have one of these two going this way, and they're not gonna cross very well. So I'm not sure what's gonna happen there. I might just have to put a small jumper wire to bridge over, which is fine. I have a kit somewhere with these things, and they're just extremely small wires. They're solid wire. They have insulation on them. This would be perfect for bridging with. You would use these for breadboards. And it's only 5 volts at, you know, well, I guess it is going to be pushing 3 amps. I don't know if, I don't know. We'll throw 2 of them on there if necessary. How about that? We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. If I have to put Kapton tape over it and then just lay the copper for the other one over top of it, so be it. Whatever. We'll do it. Enough talking. Anyway, so the battery's just going to go there. I'm just going to put some padding on the back of it so it can sit on the screen and be kind of protected from shorts. The HDMI is going to come out of this blue piece here. It's going to go straight up. And then it'll go this way and plug in here. I'll probably put something on the back half of the case in order to kind of wedge the battery in place so that it's not moving. Put a little padding on it. Anyway, so let's get to doing some 3D modeling here. We're gonna, what is it that I need to do? What is it that I need to do? Hmm. You know, I might even build bridging points for those wires. Now that I think about it, that might be something to do. I'm just trying to think if there's something. What is it that I need to do? Triggers, I think, need a little bit of modification. Let's look at those. Yes, the triggers, they do need modifications. Let's go ahead and do that. Freaking. Okay, kind of lucked out there. Let's take a look. And what is going on here? That's why those didn't print right. We'll have to figure that out. I see, I see. What on earth? Oh, that's an entirely new problem. Got it. Okay. So this needs to go negative 0.1, 0.1, negative 0.1, 0.1. Okay, like I said, that was a completely new problem. Modify this using these guys, and we'll see what it does. Yeah, it cuts a groove out there. We'll clean this up, and then we're going to open this by 0.11. That should be fine. That print did finish up. 0.11. I'm going to finish up these buttons first. So it looks like there is 0 clearance there. And if I remember correctly, yeah, see, that's so freaking tight. We don't want that. We want these to be able to float. So let's hide the case. Right here. I'm going to grab this. Grab this, and this. Negative 0.01. There. Now those should float. Actually, let's undo that. Let's just do the tops. And we're going to do negative 0.02. Now what that's going to do is gravity, it'll rest on the bottom one. Or on the bottom, but it'll still have plenty of room for it to spin, to rotate. There's not going to be anything holding it, grabbing it. Gravity's going to pull it down. I don't want the buttons to sag. I want them to sit, centered inside the buttonhole. And that's going to make sure that they do. And the last thing we need to do is do my springs. So the springs that I'm using for these are mechanical pencil springs, believe it or not. And they are 600 and they're 600 thousandths of an inch long. And I'm compressing them so that they are permanently under tension to 530 thousandths. So I'm compressing them by 70 thousandths of an inch. Now what that's going to do is that's going to make sure that these shoulder buttons stay pressed in the open position, so they're not rattling around. It's going to offer tension so that they're just not moving around and causing racket. And it also they really do feel good. I know I've used this design on previous handhelds that I've done, and I've been very happy with how they turned out, with how the shoulder buttons turned out. Um, let's go pull this off the printer. All right. Am I blind? Yes, I am blind. Okay. Okay, that one fits in really well. I'm actually thinking that first one, the very first one, might need to be moved over a little bit. I'm not going to do it. I think maybe me just simply opening these holes up later is going to solve that problem. So we'll see what happens. All right, so they all go in. Now let's try the next one, see how it lines up. That one lines up perfectly. Sweet. I love a 2-for-1. It'd be nice if the rest of these just fell into place. I know they're not going to, but because I know for a fact the last one does not line up. Okay. So this is the 16th pen. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So this is the 16th pen. And I need that hole to go to the left. So we're going to put that there. And we're going to move this over. I've been having pretty good luck just moving things over a 5,000th of an inch, so I think this one's a little bit more extreme. I do think this one's a bit more extreme, so I'm going to go ahead and take the liberty of moving it a little bit extra. All right. Let's get an idea about these other pins. If I move that one over 10,000ths of an inch, I think the next one is also going to fall into place. The next one might need another 5,000ths of an inch, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. For now, let's get back to it. I believe I finished the shoulder button. I should probably go ahead and try soldering the copper directly to the circuit boards to see if it works. If I do, then I'm probably going to try it on a circuit board that I have, another circuit board that I have just laying around, so I'm not messing up any of the ones that I'm actually utilizing. I'm not going to do that now. Let's get back to this. See what we're doing. Circuit board. This area over here is going to be really empty on the back side. See, on this one right here, I might end up just soldering the copper traces directly to these. I'm not sure if I'm going to go that route yet or not. So the pattern goes. See, once I've got these holes here mapped out, then I can, once those are mapped out, then I can go ahead and position those relative to the screw holes, and then I can place this and actually have an accurate placement for everything on this here afterwards. And then I can just push those holes straight through the board, and then I can print out a test print to make sure everything functions as intended. Now I'm using the GPIO pins in order to bridge the distance but in the circuit board itself. And so the GPIOs will like barely be in the circuit board, and they will be soldered to it, so I don't have to try to cup hole solder the board to the copper and ruin things and melt plastic and all that. It should be quick, easy, no problems. And then on the other side, I can just solder these pins directly to the copper on the other side. That's the idea. Okay. These are 0.211. So 211 thousandths of an inch. I think I'm going to open them up. And this is radius, by the way, not diameter. The buttons themselves are what, 420 thousandths of an inch, I think? $409 thousandths of an inch. Okay. Uh, So if I add 3 thousandths of an inch to the radius, then it'll add 6 thousandths of an inch to the diameter. Let's do that. 214 thousandths of an inch. And we'll see how that does. There are a couple of things that are already set in stone that I could go ahead and start working on. I don't have to finish them right now. Not until this is in its final resting place. I really don't like how far down the USB-C charger is, but it's just necessary. Unfortunately. Well, it's actually not. I could do something weird. Like, yeah, this sits flush. I could move this down and then just run a wire in there. I'm going to think about that a little bit because I very much would like to center this if possible. Let me go grab that. It really makes me nervous how close these pins are together with how big my traces are. I'm probably going to have to make my traces smaller for the signal wires, at least. For the ground and the 5-volt, they're going to they're going to have bigger traces, but they're also going to be connected to more spaces or more places on the circuit board, around the motherboard. So wow, I actually got that third one. I thought that third one was going to need more. I've got 2 more pins that I need to get lined up. Who knows? Maybe they already are. No, that one definitely needs to move over. The last two need to be moved over about 10 thousandths of an inch. And I actually counted these wrong. That one, completely unnecessary. All right, this should be. I should, after this one, I should have one more test print, and that test print will be for the hole size. All right. Okay, so that's on to print. That should take care of those last two pins. Once those are lined up, then I'll open up the holes, do another print, and then do a test fit, and then call it good on that. Hopefully we can fit more. Hopefully we can fit more. Whatchamacallit, GPIO headers inside after I open those holes up ever so slightly. All right, back to the case. What are we doing over here? I feel like I got so much done yesterday and today, and I haven't really done a whole lot on stream. All right, I think it's time. I think it's time. Yes, it is time. Let's hide the case. Let's hide the buttons. So we've got the case. We're going to do a little bit of organizing real quick. The case, we've got the boards, we got the circuit board. Ooh. Really? Really? All right, we got the circuit board there. Got case, we got the circuit board. We've got these boards. We're going to hide those. We've got the buttons. I'm going to do, well, actually, I'm going to keep those because I might need them later if I end up moving the buttons around a little bit. Because I might end up pushing the buttons towards the screen a little bit. Oh, now that I'm thinking about it, at some point I need to add in my start and select buttons. with the screen and the circuit board. Guess we'll start here. Actually, we need to start over here. Oh, I'll just do that. Okay, so this is going to be that'll be my cut line. Actually, you know what? I can do this. Okay, that's going to be my cut line, which means I need to move this. Move this from here. I guess I should put a point there. Uh, why is it not wanting to? You know what? Here. That should be easier, right? There. And that's my cut line. Actually, hold on. No, that's not my cut line. We're going to take that up there. Now this is my cut line. Okay. Now, that's my cut line. And it's 20 thousandths of an inch. We're going to go ahead and grab, well, we're going to delete that. No, actually, we want that. We're going to grab this line. Negative 0.02. That is my cut line. Pretty sure I can just grab, yes, I can just grab that. I'm just going to use up all this real estate that I've got over here. At least, yeah, for right this minute. Did it? Is it? Man, that does not look like 90 degrees. Holy cow. Anyway, that's my cut line. We're going to go with 40 thousandths of an inch for the actual circuit. And then my second cut line. Now, if I move this, it moves all of them. That's awesome. Now, for this one, I need room over here to put a start or select button, so we're going to hold off on putting a whole lot of circuitry over here. The only thing that's going to be over here is this circuit here, and we're going to follow along this. But in order to do that, we're going to do this one first. But in order to do this one, we need to do this one and the ground first. Actually, we're just going to leave these here in the middle, because I don't know exactly how this is going to work yet. That'll be fine. Okay. We're actually going to leave that there because we'll use it for cutting the rest of them. Let's go ahead and hide the screen. It's not that important. Um, Never mind. I guess we're getting rid of that. Oh, that finished printing. All right. They all fit. Now, it's a little lopsided, a little bent, but that's what I'm hoping that I'm going to fix by opening up these holes a little bit. All right. So these are measuring based off of diameter, or sorry, radius. So that means we want to open this up. If I open it up 5 thousandths of an inch, it's going to open it up 10 thousandths of an inch because it's going to open up 5 thousandths on both sides. So I want it to be these really aren't that big. These pens are only 25 thousandths of an inch. This is already at 23 thousandths of an inch. Radius. That's diameter here. I'm going to open it up to 25 thousandths, which is going to make it 50 thousandths from side to side. And we'll test it. Okay. Hopefully this is the last one I have to do. I need to make this the cut line. I hate it sometimes. I hate it sometimes. None of these. Not a one of these. It's all on the same layer. Okay. This is so stupid. This is so stupid. See, now it works. Now it magically works. I don't. So dumb. Mm, okay. So this one right here, we can bring down, and it's gonna share a cut line here. They'll combine there. Honestly, I don't need that. All right. So now that shares a cut line. Wait, what? That ain't right. Well, crap. Mm. Okay, that cut line is back in place. Okay, I need those to not be attached. All right, that cut line is fine. All right, so we have why? What is wrong with you? That's what's wrong with you. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's what was wrong with you. What the fuck? I don't know what the fuck that is, bro. This is infuriating, actually. All right, I'm gonna go offline. I'm gonna put some music.